We are getting down to the final days before the number one quarterback in America, Bryce Underwood, makes his final decision. And I got LSU insider Shea Dixon on today's show to find out if the Tigers are still the team to beat, because Underwood took recent visits to both Michigan and Alabama. But first, LSU fans, smash that subscribe button for me. We are entering an exciting time for LSU fans. We want you to be a part of it, so hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Thank you. All right, let's bring on Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger. Now, Shea, we're talking number one, so before we get to Bryce Underwood, we got to talk number one running back in the 2025 class, Harlem Barry. He comes off the board 3 days before Underwood. He'll make his decision January 3rd, and LSU is trending at 98% on the recruiting prediction machine. Are there any stumbling blocks between LSU and Barry for this January 3rd decision?
You know, at this point, from all the sources I've spoken with, everything points towards LSU, which matches the On3 recruiting prediction machine, which favors the Tigers in a big way. And Josh, you'll remember, this will be 10 years to the date. And if you look behind me, we're not far off from St. Pete when we were there for a number of announcements that included Leonard Fournette.
Under Armour game.
The Under Armour game, yes. The number one running back in the country at the time. Also out of New Orleans, also a 5-star, also being recruited by Frank Wilson. So 10 years later, here we are doing it again with another New Orleans running back, a 5-star. And Barry will be the first underclassman to ever make a declaration at the game. So that'll kind of be an interesting thing to see if they carry on that tradition moving forward. But yes, LSU is not only trending, but I feel very good about my pick for the Tigers to keep the number one running back in the country home in Louisiana for college.
Yeah, what a day down there at Tropicana Field 10 years ago. I can't believe you still remember that. All right, let's talk Bryce Underwood now, because we are less than 2 weeks out from his decision. I think we're about 12 days out now. Does LSU not having an OC, Shea? They do not have an OC, left for Notre Dame. Is that going to be an issue when Underwood makes his decision on January 6th?
I don't think it will be. Look, Mike Denbrock served LSU very well in the 2 seasons he was here after following or coming with Kelly when he was hired and being hired away from Cincinnati. He returns home, obviously, to Notre Dame, a stop he's made a number of times, this time as an offensive coordinator again. But he was not the main recruiter on Bryce Underwood and really wasn't even one of the top 2 or 3 recruiters. The main recruiter is Joe Sloan, who's currently the co-offensive coordinator for the bowl game and will obviously be on staff moving forward. So I don't look at the coordinator situation right now as a hurdle. And I think one thing to remember, Josh, too, is that Underwood's going to announce, but he has a whole year before he signs. So LSU's had those conversations with him about what things will look like moving forward. And he's already seen what they looked like this year when they had a Heisman winner in Jaden Daniels and finished with the number one offense in college football.
Okay, then why haven't you put your prediction in for LSU on Underwood? I want to know, but I think the fans on your message board want to know.
I'm not as bold as you, Josh, doing it a month or 2 out. I usually try to wait till all the dust is settled. When we get about a week out from the decision, as I told the members of the Bengal Tiger, I will go ahead and put my On3 RPM pick in then. But I will say, I am here in Tampa. I've talked to a number of LSU sources. And the buzz that's coming out of LSU right now is that they've withstood the push that teams like Michigan, Bama, and many others have made leading up to this January 3rd date. Now, it would be foolish to say, don't worry about Bama. Don't worry about the in-state Michigan team. I still think, though, that LSU's done enough work here, got him to campus enough times, and has everything sort of set up to get Bryce Underwood on board on January the 6th. Now, we'll see how it unfolds. That's just where I sit right now.
Harlem Barry, number one at his position. DeCorian Moore, number one wide receiver in the country, already committed to LSU. QB number one, could be committing on January 6th. What is the ceiling for this class if and when Bryce Underwood is on board on January 6th? Because technically, the 2025 cycle doesn't even start until February.
Yes, and it started long ago. As we know, recruiting never sleeps. Look, LSU on the On3 industry rankings, team recruiting rankings, has a top 5 class right now. They got Keelan Moses at the end of November, one of the top linebackers in America. And as you noted, Barry coming up, Underwood coming up. And then the guys you mentioned, DeCorian Moore being a number one receiver, Teron Francis, the number one receiver in Louisiana, is already committed. if you get Barry and Underwood, you move up to the number one class. So
Hmm.
the ceiling is number one. They'll be number one if they get those two guys. Does that last all the way till signing day? I don't know that, but I will say you get those two guys and momentum really starts to roll in a year when not only is LSU known for the ability to recruit nationally, but they've put a big focus on Louisiana and East Texas. And Louisiana is very, very deep with top end talent in the 2025 cycle. So the feeling around LSU circles is that if they play their cards right, it is a no doubt top five class and really can push teams like Alabama and Georgia for the number one class if things play out over the next 12, 13 months as they hope.
All right. Well, we are about 4 or 5 weeks away from the February 7th signing day to wrap up the 2024 cycle. And there are still a couple five-star targets on board. Who's more likely, in your opinion, Shay? Five-star athlete Terry Bussey, who is committed to Texas A&M, or five-star defensive lineman Dominic McKinley, who is committed to Texas A&M?
I go back and forth with this one a lot. And I think if you asked LSU sources who are even involved in these recruitments, they'll have varying opinions on which one might be more likely. I would probably pick the Louisiana guy being Dom McKinley. And granted, he didn't make visits to LSU during the year. He's giving them an official visit in January. You
Yeah.
hope to build on that leading up to February signing day. Terry Bussey's already made his official visit to LSU. He will be back in January is the expectation on an unofficial visit. And Bussey said he's going to check out a bunch of schools, then make that final decision. But Bussey seems to me, Josh, like the kind of guy who's always been an A&M lean and then had been an A&M commitment and remains an A&M commitment through all these coaching changes. As a Texas guy, I still think the Aggies have a pretty good shot to hold on to him. So LSU, again, they could go either way. Many people feel confident that they can pull it off with Bussey. I'll just go the McKinley route. I think the Louisiana pick, a guy who lives 40 minutes down the road,
Right.
is my safer bet at this stage.
All right. Well, that could put them inside the top five. We'll see how 2024 finishes, but 2025 is off to a very hot start. Shay Dixon with the Bengal Tiger, thank you for dropping by the Inside Scoop. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.